What do you get when you bring writers together for some fun and games?
Writers Virtual Table.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Writers Virtual Table. I am your host, Casey Bell, and this is the first episode where we bring writers together for some fun and games. Unfortunately, there are no trophies or prizes, just a lot of fun. So let's first introduce our authors. We're going to take a name out, and the first person I pull out will introduce themselves. So let's start with Jennifer Lieberman. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Lieberman. I am an author, an actor, and a filmmaker. And I started writing when I was 8 years old. I started writing episodes of TV shows that I used to watch because I knew I wanted to be in them. So I would write myself in them as a guest star. By the time I was 12, I started writing like full-length screenplays. And after I graduated university, I moved to New York to get into the theater and the film industry. So my first novel actually started off as a play, and it was a one-woman show that I did in Los Angeles and New York, and I ended up winning the Audience Choice Award for it at a festival, and someone suggested it would be a great book. So that was my segue into writing books from writing theatrical pieces.
Awesome. So just a little bit about your publishing. Your first book that you published, what was it like for you?
So it was an adaptation of a stage piece. So it went through like several incarnations because originally I just kind of took the story that I used on stage, but that didn't really end up it wasn't enough for the book. And the stage piece was specifically tailored to show my different performance abilities, like playing 10 different characters and accents and my range, where that is superfluous when you translate it into a written piece that's meant to be read. So I went through actually 3 editors and almost a decade of getting discouraged and putting it away and pitching it, not hearing from agents, not hearing from publishers. And eventually my boyfriend said to just get to the finish line and finish it and self-publish it. And if nobody ever buys it, who cares? Just finish it, finish the project. So that's what I did. And then I got censored because the title was too racy. So then 2 years later, I relaunched it with a new title.
Cool. Great story. All right, so our next author who will be, I don't know if you can see that.
That's me. Hi out there in Cyberland. My name is James Rickard, James L. Rickard, if you read my books. I'm a multi-genre writer from West Virginia. I'm self-published on Amazon. The reason I went with self-publishing is because I'm old enough that I used to mess around, try and play that game where you sent your book off to a publishing company, and then it took them at least a month or more to get back to you, sometimes even 3 months. And I just can't handle that because it's like I'm out of the mood to do anything with a book if I have to wait that long. Now my background is a lot like Jennifer's. Like she said, I started writing when I was about 8 years old, and it was because I was inspired by television. It was thinly veiled fan fiction. I wrote because I didn't like the way a story panned out. And so I would write the next day and rewrite the story. And of course, sometimes I put myself in the stories, sort of my friends. And that evolved into a thing where I started writing about other characters other than myself. And I've always kept my foot in writing just a little bit. I have a degree in journalism also, but fiction is where it's at as far as I'm concerned.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. And of course, last one is Erin. Just a little bit about yourself and how you got started writing when you're ready.
Sure. So my name's Erin Royce, and I started writing not quite as young as Jennifer and James, but probably early 11, 12, 13, and just really stories in my head, imaginations, and poetry geared towards people in my life, people that I love, that I like, that if they were having a hard time, I would just write little ditties down, which got longer and longer, that I would give to them. And life got in the way, and I got away from writing for probably 20 odd years. And I had a daughter, and she brought me back to it with all of her questions and her life and my life. So, I started to write and completed a children's book based on her and self-published it. Same thing, it was quite a gong show trying to send your book to all these different publishers and waiting for it to come back. So I just thought, I'm just going to do it myself, not realizing the overwhelming arena that is. But if you look at it in incremental ways, then you can get through it. Anyone can get through it. So, my background really is law, English, and very analytical thinking. And so it was nice to get back to the creative side again. So, yeah.
My name is Dennis Galloway. My genre is fiction. And the first book I wrote was actually a children's story. That's the first one that got published, called The Green King. It's about a small little frog going pond to pond, running into a bully, and how he overcomes that. Then I wrote another one. It's called The Rebel Justice, and it's a Western, again, a fiction. It takes place after the Civil War. A Confederate soldier going home finds it destroyed, and what he does about that. And then the latest one I sent out was called The Pen, Sultan's Wisdom. And this is a completely different style of writing that I've done before. It's fiction. It's about a man in the 1920s who found an antique pen, and he took it home, started writing with it, and the pen took over and started writing its own story. And it takes him on a dream travel trip into the past, and he witnesses and actually experiences what the man who had the original pen went through, going from an orphan to a sultan. So it's interesting because it's combined with not only time travel and fiction and kind of a mystery, but it also has some philosophy in it. Like basically you get treated how you treat people, or how to visualize what you want and actually believe in it until it becomes reality. So those kinds of things are woven into the book and the storyline. I just got through finishing all the audio capture of the book, and it's gone through the editing process. I'm reviewing it now and hope to release it this month. So that's what I've been doing.
How did you get started writing?
Oh, I got started writing when I was about 8 or 9 years old. Wrote my mother a poem. But I've been writing off and on, but never published. So this is the first time I've actually gone out and published something, a complete story. And The Pen is the first time I really got editors involved, got layout artists involved, got book cover designers involved. I'd done all of that on my own before, and it's okay, but going through this experience of having professionals help me put the book together, it's a whole new world. It's much better, much better work being produced that way.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
An exciting new book by Dennis Galloway, The Pen, Sultan's Wisdom. An ancient pen found in an antique store. took over Harold's hand to write in Arabic. And took him back in time 1,000 years to an ancient Egypt to witness the life of a man. From a poor camel boy to become a wealthy sultan, finding wisdom, changing his life forever. The pen, Sultan's Wisdom.
And we are back.
Now we're going to do Ask a Question. Each author, writer have a chance to ask another one a question. So we'll start out with, okay. So, Erin, you will be asking a question to Jennifer. So ask Jennifer a question.
Okay. So Jennifer, you mentioned writing your first full-length screenplays around the age of 12. What was the first screenplay that you wrote and why?
Okay.
Remember.
It was really dark. I remember it very vividly. And basically, I was in junior high. This was in the 90s. The AIDS epidemic was like rampant, and like I remember like all the TV shows, you know, would have like an episode about AIDS and things like that. So my script was about a girl who kind of runs away from home. She doesn't get along with her mom, runs away from home, and is a dancer and gets a gig dancing in a music video. I was a big fan of In Living Color and the Fly Girls at the time. So she gets a gig dancing in a music video with two lead singers, and she ends up falling in love and marrying one of them. And they're at a party, and she's at her home, and she's drunk, and the other guy from the band is asleep in her bedroom. She thinks it's her husband and she sleeps with him. And then she finds out that she's pregnant. And the same time she finds out she's pregnant, she finds out she's HIV positive. So she got it from the other single guy in the band and then gave it to her husband. And it was like this terrible story where everybody died of AIDS. You know, and I'm laughing because I don't understand how my 12-year-old mind was able to concoct something, but I think it shows how much like the news of the day and the media that we're fed really influences like our psyche at a very, very young age, and even in a subconscious way, because I didn't even really understand what I was writing.
That's interesting. That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
Sorry, hold on.
And it was called like Midnight Sun or something like that, because I heard that like in the Arctic, and if you go really far up north, it's like 24 hours of daylight certain times of the year, and then 24 hours of darkness. So it's like her life went from being like completely perfect to completely dark.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't revisited that story for a long time.
It made you dig deep. Look back.
Yes.
So the next one is James. You are going to be asking Oh, Dennis, a question.
Let me ask you this. Okay, great. Okay, you said that your book, The Pen, was kind of dealing with time travel and all that, but things kind of broke up there on my end for a second. Did you say he found the pen in 1920 or 1820?
He is in Edinburgh, Scotland in 1920.
1920. Okay, great. That's an interesting era.
It was a good era to pick because a lot of change was going on in Europe at the time. In fact, to tell you how, I won't say backwards, but how limited they were in technology, they didn't even have refrigerators as a standard standard appliance in the home. In fact, that didn't come in there until the 1950s and 60s. But there was an era of transition. Electricity was coming in, cars were getting on the road, all kinds of changes were occurring.
Well, I agree with you 100% because it's like I began as a Western writer. I picked up on the idea that you wrote a Western there, but it kind of evolved into the a time between, say, 1900 and the 1920s. That's such an interesting era, no matter where you are. Just things are changing so much. Like if you're in like on the East Coast, it's real. Things are just moving so fast. Technology is taking over. But then you go more into the central part of the country, and they're still riding horseback and wearing six guns.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. In fact, Arizona, I think, just became a state during the early 1900s.
Yes, you're exactly right. It was I believe it was 1912.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, our next question is coming from Dennis, and you'll be asking Erin a question. So you can make it general.
Okay. So what types of books have you written before?
So I have one out right now. It's a children's book, Mommy Why? And it's about a daughter asking her mother pertinent questions about herself, which lead into more general questions about her place. And it again came from my daughter and the 1,000 questions she asked and continues to ask. And it was just something I couldn't find a book that addressed what I wanted it to, and I thought, well, I'm just going to write it. And
Okay.
it was a long time since I had written, so I sat down and that's where that came from. And I have a couple other works on the go, but that's the one that I've self-published today.
Well, is it an illustrated book? Did you do the illustrations, or did you have somebody help you?
No, I can't draw. So
Okay.
no, I found an illustrator, and she did. I sent her all the words, blocked it out for her, and she did all the illustrations to go with the different questions that were in the book. So with what you said, it's a much cleaner process, I think, when you bring people in that are professionals in their own right as part of a book. It would be nice if we could do all of it ourselves, but I think it's important to bring those editors in and illustrators in and someone that sees your vision and understands it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. That's it may be a little bit expensive up front, but the output, the product is much, much better.
It looks as it should be for the most part. Yeah.
You're right, exactly.
Awesome. So last but not least, Jennifer, you'll ask James the question.
All right, James, what is your favorite part of the writing process?
When I'm done. But aside from that, the other thing I really like is the idea. I'm kind of a pantser because I don't really work that much from outline, but I like having the idea in my head and starting to put it on paper. It's like 10 Ted and Sally were walking home from school, and then the story takes off, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So kind of like going on a road trip where you have an idea of the direction you want to go, but not really knowing which road you're going to take.
Exactly. Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm the opposite. I need an outline. I need to know exactly, I need to know every turn before I begin.
Yeah, it's like, sometimes I have an idea that goes to about halfway through the book, and, I kind of stick with that idea. But in the last half, it's the characters have taken over, and they're running the story.
Cool.
It is now time for our next section called Judge a Book by Its Cover. I'm going to show the writers a book cover, and they have to give me a title. They have to give me a plot. They have to give me a genre. And if they can come up with one in 30 seconds or less, they have to give me the main character's title. Writers, are you ready to see this book cover?
Sure.
Ready.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
From the moment children utter their first words, they are bursting with questions about the world around them and why everything is the way it is. Some questions are delightful, naive, embarrassing, and sometimes nonsensical, while others can be poignant, heartbreaking, and often profound in their simplicity. We answer our children's thoughts, concerns, and fears the best we can, calmly on the outside, while often screaming inside our head, how do I answer that question? Am I doing this right? Do I even know anything? Arg, my armpits are beginning to sweat. What was the question again? Readers are invited to join author Erin Royce as she lets us eavesdrop on a young girl's anxious, yet touching questions about herself to the person she trusts the most in the world, her mother. Mommy, Why? By Erin Royce. Go to erinDroyce.com for more information.
And we are back.
And the first one to go will be Dennis. Give me a title, a plot, and a genre, and if you have one, the main character's name.
Okay. Title. The title is Wow. The plot is My Discovery Journal Through Music. The genre is teen. Main character is Sarah.
Wow, that was all right. James.
Okay, my title would be Waiting for Summer. It's a coming-of-age story. It involves a group of high school kids waiting for their summer vacation, hence the title. And I think maybe a couple of guys and a couple of girls to make things work out well. One girl gets pregnant. I don't know. Like I said, we'll go from that there. Let's see. And the main character's name, I think the story will revolve around him. His name is going to be Sean.
Okay. Jennifer.
All right, mine is called Party on the Rocks, and it is a YA mystery about a bunch of influencers who were invited to a ski resort and become involved in a plot to for social media appeal, where they're being killed off one by one, and like an Agatha Christie whodunit. And the lead character is called Tweaker Tim.
Wow, cool.
And Erin, your turn.
Oh, can I pass? All right, ready? All right.
Ready.
Title, Children Gone Wild. Genre, tween. Characters, I don't know, Troy, Shane, Sarah, and Trina. they're a dancing troupe coming up through the streets, getting ready for a dance competition that they can win enough money to put towards their future education.
Cool.
Cool.
That's amazing. I think it's cool how you all saw something different in that image. All right, so the next section is called Who Is That? So I'm going to show you a character's name, and I need to know the title of the book that they're in, the plot of the book, and again, the genre, okay? And you don't have to worry about designing a book cover for this. All right, and your time's up. And the first one to go to let us know who this person is, or this character. Jennifer, who is this person? What is the name of the book and what is the plot?
John Frederick Mickley III is a scientist in a steampunk time travel adventure called Racing Against the TikTok. And he is challenged to go back in time to change history in order to have a dystopia, in order to stop a dystopian future where TikTok takes over the world.
That is great. I'm assuming that's young adult.
Yes.
All right. Next one. James, who is John Frederick Mickley III?
John Frederick Mickley III. I think it would be a main character in something like a Harry Potter story, something sword and sorcery. Let's see. Title would be something like Johnny's Life, something like that. I wouldn't say this is necessarily young adult. The way I kind of do things, I just write it and whatever it is, that's the way it goes.
All right. All right, Erin, who is John Frederick Mickley III?
I don't know. Frederick Mickley III. I think a title I have is Where is John Frederick Mickley III? And I see him as a millionaire at this beautiful dinner and benefit for wayward children, where halfway through the night, all of a sudden he's nowhere to be found. And by the back door, the door's open, there's glass broken, his signet ring is on the ground, and his wallet with a note saying, "Welcome to the human scavenger hunt." And it's
That's awesome.
within 24 hours.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. So you do know who he is. Dennis, who is John Frederick Mickley III? Dennis?
Okay.
Okay.
The title for John Frederick Mickley III is The Fighter. And basically the plot is about, in the 1930s, a young Irish fighter, boxer, and all the struggles he goes through, the fights, the loves, the disappointments, the overcoming the struggles to win the top boxing tournament in Boston in the 1930s. Because in those days, there were a lot of immigrants, Irish immigrants, and they had a struggle to survive, and they were looked down upon as being the low end of society. So he had to fight his way to gain respect. And he thought the best way to do that is with his fists and entering boxing during those days. And that was a pretty tough time. The genre is generally young adult or tweens.
Awesome. Well, that was fun hearing each and every one of you tell me who John Frederick Nickley III was.
Yeah, I like those. Those are really cool ideas.
Year of the What is a romantic comedy that follows heartbroken and lonely 25-year-old Dana, who is 6 months off her first breakup and living the single life in New York City. A virgin once removed, she's insecure and on the hunt for the one. A new novel by Jennifer Lieberman. Adapted from the award-winning solo show. Check out yearofthewhat.com for more information and reviews.
And we are back.
So now it's time for each author to let everyone know their latest book that has been published and where they can buy it, and if they're working on a new project at the moment, what it is without telling us too much. Obviously, we don't want to give any spoilers. So Jennifer, talk about your latest book that has been published, and if you are working on another project, what is it?
Yes, so my novel is called Year of the What, and it's an adaptation, like I mentioned earlier, of my one-woman show, Year of the Slut. So it is a coming-of-age female empowerment piece. It's chick lit, romance, comedy. It has all the feels in it. And basically it follows the protagonist's struggle through heartbreak, trying to find the love of her life, realizing that she has to fall in love with herself first. So like I mentioned earlier, the original title, Year of the Slut, was censored and I couldn't get any advertisements approved on Amazon or social media. So now it's under the Year of the What. And it's book 1. I'm working on book 2 now. It's also going to be called Year of the What. And the actual title will be, when you open up the book, Year of the Bitch. And basically I'm taking pejoratives, words that are used as weapons against women, in order to kind of re-own them, redefine them. Assertive women, powerful women, successful women are a lot of times referred to as a bitch. So when we're younger, we're referred to as a slut, as a derogatory term, whether we're promiscuous or not. It's just a way people attack women. And then as we get older, more assertive, more successful in our lives, the word bitch is what we're attacked with. So I'm basically tackling these ideas of what do these things mean. And like I said, there are feminist pieces, female empowerment, that women should assert themselves, whether it's sexually or successfully. So that's the second one, and I'm working on that now.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right, our next one will be James. What is your latest book that you published, and are you working on another one at the moment?
Well, yes, I am working on one. The title is My Pet Zombie. And like I said, I'm working on it. And with what I've already said, you can pretty well guess I don't have an ending yet. So I'm like 3/4 of the way through it, and I kind of know where it's going. But being the media whore that I am, here's my latest book. It's called The Windmill Portal. It's a science fiction story set in 1928, and it involves a character who I've been using in a few of my stories. His name is Charlie Hobbs, and this time he's working as an investigative reporter, and he's taking a break. He's gotten married to a woman who lives down the road from him. Being as how I'm saying in a road rather than a street, you know, it's kind of rural. They go on their honeymoon and they have a UFO sighting wherein she ends up being killed because of the sighting. It turns out the sighting may be linked to an actual UFO sighting in 1897 Texas. And so the magazine that Charlie works for sends him down to Texas, and he investigates things and gets involved with a woman that he knew before. And they knew each other more than he thought because they had a son together, and Charlie just meets his son for the first time after, oh gosh, I don't know, about 20 or 30 years, something like that. And the madness ensues.
Awesome. And I'm assuming both Jennifer and James, people can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's website, and I'm assuming Books A Million as well. Yes, no?
You're assuming what?
Booksamillion.com. Barnes & Noble's
I've never
website.
even heard of that one. I don't know if I'm available there.
Okay. I'm not sure, but if you publish through Amazon, I do believe they now add it there. I'm not sure. But
awesome.
You can go to their website and look it up and see.
I will.
All right, our next one is Erin. I believe you already mentioned it, but talk about your latest book and what book you're working on now.
So Mummy Why is the one that's already published and out there, and I have my website erinDroyce.com, and it's on Amazon, and my Facebook is through my website as well. And I'm working on, so the first one is Mummy Why, the second one's going to be Mummy Why Not, and so I'm kind of working on a tween level for that in tandem with another one that's more, fantasy based, I guess. Some adventures with a little girl going into another realm and saving things. I don't want to go into it too much. So just so I'm looking at 2 more books in the Mummy Why, and then gearing off into maybe a little bit older after that. And just have to figure out the wording for some of the questions.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And Dennis, your latest book that you've published, and are you working on anything at the moment?
Right. I don't know if this is easy to see or not.
Yes.
Okay. The Pen, Sultan's Wisdom. Got #1 bestseller on Amazon with that one. Thank you. If you go to is.gd/thepen, that's a short URL. It's easier to do. You'll actually see a video there, like a movie video. It describes what the movie's story is about. Movie, yes. Hoping for that. What it is it's in 1920s Edinburgh, Scotland. Let's say man starting to go through middle age, 35, 40. He likes to write, so he finds this old antique store, finds this old pen, takes it home, starts writing with it, and it takes over his hand and starts writing in a script that he doesn't recognize. So later, when he goes to sleep, it brings him back in time 1,000 years to the original owner of the pen, which was a sultan, and he ends up going there and sees this old man writing something down, and he recognizes he's writing with the pen that he bought at the antique store. Turns out the pen is a pen that records whatever you're doing and then puts it back on the paper when somebody uses it again. So the man writes his life story from being an orphan and being a slave, basically, for a merchant, escapes, and how he grew up in the streets of Cairo, how he became involved in merchandising himself, and then how he got accused of something, how he escaped and jumped in the Nile, fought off crocodiles, finds he's ending up on the sands in Arabia, picked up by a caravan, how they adopted him, how he grew up through that life, how he learned to be a young man, grow into being a leadership. So there's a love story in there as well. He meets his love. He also does battles and so forth. But each time the main character, Harold, writes with the pen, falls asleep. He goes and dream travels. He wakes up and comes back, realizing that he had actually been back there, got sunburned, he got scratched, or he picked up some item back in that time and it was in his hands when he woke up. He also learns from this man's experience 1,000 years ago and applies those life lessons to his own, and his life improves. So you get two stories going there, two story arcs, back and forth, and it's all good. Everybody wins. A lot of knowledge going back and forth. But the idea was to blend stories from the past with current adaptability, and those lessons, life lessons, are still effective even in the 1920s from 1,000 years ago. So I am writing a second book. The second book is along the same lines in that it's a woman who finds the pen. It's a different pen this time. And it's attached to a man who lived during the 1300s, and he was a knight, a Templar knight, and about the struggles of that time, about him going through his struggles in life and what he learned from it, and the dramas, the fights, the battles, the loves. All of that wraps up. But the woman, she's in the 1930s in Edinburgh, Scotland, just as the war begins. So she's going through a wartime of England and Scotland against the Germans, and she's got to survive air bomb and bomb raids. She has 2 children. She's got to send them out to the countryside. And she's got also involved with somebody translating the story for her when she finds out it's in Arabic, or not Arabic. In this case, it would be Old Latin. And that person translating picks up on, well, something's going on here. Maybe there's treasure. So there's going to be protagonists and bad people on each side of the timeline, if you will, and that'll blend. So I hope to have that out by the end of the year. And it's based on some facts that I put in there in history-wise that happened to the Knights Templar, some facts that happened in Edinburgh, Scotland during the war, and things that people had to struggle with. There is romance, there's battle scenes, there's historical events that occur. So I try to keep it exciting and very, very visually in your mind with sights, sounds, smells, touches, all of that, to bring that into the reader's imagination so that they can enjoy an immersive experience. And so that's what's going on with that one. Hopefully I'll turn that also into an audio file. I'm finding that works real well to promote your book. If you get it into audio, it reaches a broader audience in general.
Cool.
That is all the time we have for you today on the Writers Virtual Table. I want to thank our writers and our guests for joining me, Erin Royce, Jennifer Lieberman, Dennis Galloway, and James Rickard, for stopping on by and having fun with me. And of course, you, the audience, thank you so much for viewing. Have a great day. Have a great week. Author Casey Bell presents American History. American History is a 9-book series for children. The book series celebrates Americans past and present, like Mary Anderson, the inventor of the windshield wipers; Maria Tallchiff, America's first prima ballerina; Kenneth J. Dunkley, the inventor of 3D film glasses; Guillermo Gonzalez Marina, the inventor of color television, and so many more. The series, when purchased separately, costs $99.60, but order it now at authorcaseybell.com and only spend $80 with free shipping and handling. American History, a children's book series celebrating America's history. What do you get when you bring writers together for some fun and games?
Writers Virtual Table.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of Writers Virtual Table. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today we have some wonderful writers who's going to play some wonderful games with me. Unfortunately, there are no trophies, there's no prizes, there's no winning. It's just a lot of fun. All right, so let's get started with VK. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
G'day, Casey. So my name's VK Tritschler. I'm based in South Australia. I've been writing for about 5-6 years now, and predominantly in romance, although I do genre jump a little bit within that field. I really got into writing when I moved over. I was born and raised in New Zealand with a Canadian family, and when we moved to Australia about 5 years ago, we decided that we wanted to do something that we'd never done before, and my choice was to write a book. And that kind of got me down the rabbit hole, and I've been stuck down there ever since. Yeah, I've really enjoyed the process of learning to become an author. My first book was The Secret Life of Sarah Meads, which is kind of a chick lit look at a woman who's not coping very well in life. And it kind of got me into the habit of writing regularly and creating new worlds and adventures. And from there, I've now got 5 books out, another several on the way. My latest one is A Town Called Nowhere, which is a paranormal romance based here in South Australia. And I got that idea from the concept of having panthers roaming around Australia. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Our next author is Karen. Please introduce yourself, Karen.
Thank you, Casey, and hello, everyone else. My name is Karen Pierce Gonzalez. I'm from the wine country of North San Francisco Bay Area, and I've been writing since I could hold a pen and had binder paper. My mother would buy me a little package for school when it started, and I had to fill every line. So I would read books and then try to rewrite them in my own way when I was a child. So progressed through, I've been a journalist. I teach fiction writing classes. I'm a folklorist. Have had a lot of work published. My first book was about how to write family folk tales for people who get caught up in biography and bogged down by memoir, using folktale motifs to move their stories along. I have just finished Lullaby, which is another folklore book between seaweed and otter. I have a collection of poems under consideration with Shanti Arts. Say prayers for me, please. I write literary fiction fundamentally, and poetry, and then guides for people who want to write their own folklore. So thank you.
Thank you. And Bobby.
Hi, I'm Bobby Nash. I got started, the writing bug first hit me about the time I was in high school. It took a little while to make things happen, but I started out writing comics. I started out wanting to draw comics, but turns out I'm not that good an artist. So I started writing them, and my first published work was as a comic book. In 2004, I sold my first novel. And it's been pretty steady work since then. I do a lot of novels, novellas, short stories. I still write comics when I can. I've dabbled in audio and movie screenplays. But yeah, it's fun. I write a lot of different genres, but there's almost always a thriller element to them. So I guess thriller is my genre. And I just like tag other things onto it. Because I like to, yeah, as has been pointed out to me, I like to kill people. So that's, yeah. And so I've been doing that for a while. Like I said, since 2005 was when my first novel came out. And I'm doing several series either on my own through my own press or through other publishers. And so those are the genres that I like to play with.
Awesome. And last but not least, Stephanie, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, hi, I'm Stephanie LaVigne. I am in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, beach town, and I've been publishing full-time for about 5 years. I think I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary soon of going all in and writing mainstream fiction. I started with romance, and I'm finally writing mystery. So I write mystery and romance. I wrote under pen names for several years, and now I have just sort of emerged under my own name this year. So it's been a pretty fun transition. I get to do fun things like this. And I think, as most writers, I've done some version of writing my whole life, like you guys, Lit Mag in high school and in college and all things like that. Then I worked in the film industry in New York City for several years. And then I was an underwater photographer, an underwater portrait photographer, and a interior design architectural photographer. And finally came full circle back to what I always had planned to do and knew I needed to do, which was write. And it's been very rewarding since then. So that's what I'm doing.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
The Fox Hill Southern Mystery Series. Have some good old Southern fun with the Fox Hill, Tennessee series with lovable amateur PI Caitlin Claiborne. Caitlin Claiborne, ambitious Chicago realtor, reluctant music hall inheritor, and small-town investigator. From a sassy, geriatric box office attendant to a flamboyant dance instructor to an animal-loving, trigger-happy rancher, Caitlin must navigate Fox Hill's quirky inhabitants to gather clues and get to the bottom of the Beaumont mystery before time runs out, for her and for Fox Hill. The Fox Hill Southern Mystery Series.
And we are back.
All right. So now it is time for Ask a Question. So I'm going to call on one of you to ask one of the other writer a question, okay? So let's start with Stephanie. You are going to ask VK a question.
Oh, I earlier realized VK and I should have been friends already, and we have not met until today. So
I know, right?
I know. I wish I had thought of questions. I was just like, why haven't we been friends? So let's see. You've been dabbling in a lot of different genres that are kind of similar, rom-com and mystery and paranormal. Let's see. What is the question going to be? Have you found yourself drawn to one more than the other, or do you feel like they're just variations of the same voice, like you're writing, or are they really different stories? Does that make any sense?
I know what you mean. Yeah. I guess for me, when I'm jumping around, it's because I write based on my emotion. So whatever emotional state I'm in is what I'm writing in. So if I'm really happy, I'm writing a rom-com. If I'm feeling a bit edgy, I might get into sort of something a little bit darker. So I understand the frustration for the reader, because I get lots of different genres coming out. But I tend to write better when I'm in the book, and to get into the book, I have to be emotionally connected to the book. So for me, I'm writing sort of 3 or 4 books on the go at any one stage, and I pick up and leave off where I am emotionally during that time. And I find that stops me getting that kind of, oh my God, I can't write today feeling, because I've always got a book in some range that it fits into. So yeah, I probably am not a good author in that regard, because it's not always sort of streamlined for the reader. But yeah, I do find that I write much stronger if I'm connected to it. So that's how I do it.
Fantastic answer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Bobby, ask Karen a question.
Okay. What has been the biggest surprise that has happened as in a result of your writing, either through research or something that you've found yourself with an interest in that you didn't know until you researched it?
Scarecrows as a folk art. I just started noticing them because I'm in a rural area, and I started talking to people. Now, keep in mind, I'm a trained anthropologist, folklorist, right? So I would start talking to people about their scarecrows and the stories they would tell me, the energy and the spirits that were imbued into these garden figures. So I did a lot of research on that and wrote articles about it and presented it to the American Folklore Society. That surprised me.
Very nice.
Thank you for that. Next. VK asks Bobby a question.
Okie dokie, Bobby. So what would you think would be the best feedback that you've ever got, either from a reviewer or a reader or somebody you work with?
Like in terms of about a story, probably the best was when I was first starting my first novel. I took these night classes at the local college. You know, the kind where it's not for credit, you just go kind of for the experience and to learn. And we would read in front of the rest of the class and do the feedback back and forth. And I'd written this, my first novel features these two brothers. And so I'm reading this section I wrote where the two brothers have come back together after the first time in years. And I read it, and it kind of falls flat. It doesn't really resonate with the people that have heard me read it. And so the feedback I got was that nothing in their dialogue or their actions made them feel like brothers. And so I took that to heart, and in the week until the next one, I sat down and thought about it. It's like, wait, I have a brother, you know, I can use that. Instead of just making it all up whole cloth, I can use things from the real world to build characters on top of. And so I rewrote it with that in mind, giving one character his personality, one character my personality, and let them have the exact same conversation. And I read it the next week, and the results were more positive with you could take out the stuff telling us they're related because we know, we can feel it. And that has helped me with the designing and developing characters to this day. I still kind of have that in my head of, you know, do they feel like real people? And so, yeah, so I always spend a lot of time making sure the characters feel real to me, because if they feel real to me, they'll feel real to the reader.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen asks Stephanie a question.
Fantastic. Hi, Stephanie. So you used to write under a pen name. You no longer do, correct?
I've wrote under several pen names, and I am keeping one pen name now.
All right. So since you're using your birth name for some of the genre writing, how has that changed the work?
That's a great question. This is, I'm writing now what I had always intended to write, which was mystery. And I didn't know very much about romance before I started writing it for my mother-in-law originally, and just sort of having an audience, and that there was a whole process to that, but it was really fun, and I found I loved it and I really enjoyed it. Now I am finding my voice, I guess, which was always there, but it's refining in a new way, because now I have to own up to it, even though all my pen names have done really well and have those readers love those authors, which has been so nice and rewarding. So I'm like, okay, but now it's me, so it's a little bit scarier every day. But yeah, I think that maybe my protagonists are a little bit different, and I've had characters and stories on the back burner for so long, and so many of these stories that weren't ready because I wasn't ready to finish them and put them out. And now that I know how to put out stories, I'm like, oh wow. So I think that there's even more authenticity in my characters. Like Bobby was just saying, I write a lot of what I know into my stories. So I think that being myself, yeah, it's interesting because the world is so vivid and so familiar in a different way to me, maybe already. But I'll have to wait till the reviewers confirm that with my new series. Might just be in my head.
Thank you all. All right, now it's time for the next section, Judge a Book by Its Cover. I am going to show you a book, and all you have to do, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to look at it. You got to give me a title, a genre, and a plot, and the main character, or if you have more than one character, if you can come up with that in 30 seconds, all right?
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
Okay, Stephanie, looking at that cover, what do you see?
I'm gonna go with some version of self-help, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. I might need this book.
Self-help.
Self-help, inspirational, the lines or missed chances, missed lines. I'm a big word person, so it takes me a little longer. And at the last minute, I'm throwing the main character out as Petrie. Don't know why.
Okay, thank you. Bobby.
I'm going to go with Crossing the Lines. It's going to be like a comedy, and the characters on the cover are symbolic of the two characters inside, who are going to be Sam, who is going to be represented by the eagle, and Cam, who is going to be represented by the dove. And it's going to be a coming of age comedy about these two friends in their small town and how they grew up.
Awesome. Karen?
Okay, my book is going to be called Flight Patterns, and the main character's name is Skylar, and Skylar is actually two aspects of one personality, thus the two birds. And it's going to be fabulism in that it's about the break apart and come together of two aspects of oneself. There you go.
Awesome. VK?
So I'm kind of lucky because I got more time than you guys. I'm going to call it The Wings of the Angels. I'm going to make it a thriller about an angel who falls to earth and turns into a dove and has to find his way back home. And I can't think of a name, like it needs an angelic name, so it'd be Gabriel or something.
Awesome. That is amazing. When I first made the cover, I said, I don't think it's good enough for a book cover, but you guys really turned this book into something amazing. All right, now it's time for the next section called Who is That Character? I'm going to show you a character's name, and all you have to do is guess the title of make up the title of the book, the plot, what this character does, whatever, and then a genre. Okie dokie.
A fast-paced, action-packed book series, Snow, follows Abraham Snow, a spy, on his mysterious and exciting adventures. Snow, available on Amazon, hardback, paperback, ebook, audiobook, and free on Kindle Unlimited. For more information, go to abrahamsnow.com.
And we are back.
Okay, time is up. All right, Bobby, who is Lucy W. Brickley?
Lucy is a high-powered attorney who is excellent at her job, but she's quite often not likable. She starts out as a very unlikable character because she'll do anything to win, even at the expense of her partners in her own firm. The plot I would come up with is that she ends up taking on a case that is the exact opposite of the kind of case she would normally take, and she realizes that her clients are actually innocent and goes out of her way to prove their innocence. And so it would probably be like a crime thriller.
Cool. BK, who is Lucy W. Brickley?
Okay, so I call the book Lucy Brinkley Saves the World, and it's a rom-com set in the apocalypse. So Lucy wished she'd met Pete before the apocalypse. Now she has to work out how to be sexy and keep them both alive.
Great. That's great. Stephanie, who is Lucy W. Brinkley?
I went similar to Bobby, I guess a little bit both. Rom-com, thriller, judicial law. She is a fledgling lawyer who decided she was very meek, mild-mannered and meek, left her job as I was working on that. Barista doesn't quite fit, bakery worker, but kind of coming into her own to defy all expectations and prove all of them and herself wrong by taking on the system and having some hijinks along the way. I love hijinks.
See, hers is a prequel to mine.
Yeah, millions, Bobby.
All right, Karen, who is Lucy W. Brinkley?
And mine is the sequel. So my character is a civil rights attorney for the stars. She carries a briefcase inside which is the Milky Way. And her job is to defend the solar system from the incursion of spaceships, which leave as particular kinds of debris and trash, not asteroid and mineral clusters, but that actually toxify and poison the stratosphere. So she's seeking reparation.
I think this is actually a four-part series of her journey.
Well, you have each other emails, so
Yeah.
just
Right?
let me know when it happens.
Nikki, a werepanther since a child, and without a pack, finds herself on the run from the law. With nothing left to lose, she doesn't trust anything, especially her own heart. Drew, a famous race car driver and inheritor of one of the most influential packs of Australia, is trying to escape notoriety and his fate. Together they find themselves stuck in a small abandoned town called Nowhere in the wilderness of rural Australia. Can they learn to trust each other and find a future, or is the call of the wild too strong? A Town Called Nowhere by V.K. Tritschler.
All right, and we are at the last section. This has been so much fun. Karen, if you can start us off, tell us about your latest book you published and what book are you working on now?
Okay, great. I am actually working on a collection of poems called Soda Fountain Sky, in which the constellations and the asteroids and the nebulas and the clusters are all aspects of a 1950s diner. And they all there's comic car, the Pleiades, for example, are car hots, right? So that's what I'm working on now. I just finished this, which is the cover for, it's backwards, but it's Seaweed Song, and I referenced it earlier. It's the folklore lullaby in which seaweed is singing to sea otter, because sea otters, the babies are often left wrapped up in the branches of seaweed while the parents go diving for food, and it's the seaweed that keeps them safe and keeps them from drifting away. So it's just a lullaby. Thank you. This has been a gas.
Awesome, thank you. Stephanie, what have you recently published and what are you working on now?
I'm going to buy Karen's new book because that sounds amazing. I just happen to have this copy. This is what's publishing right now, Headlines, Deadlines, and Lies, which is, that is the proof, but part of my Sunshine State series, which is my new mystery sort of mega world that I'm doing some cozies in, which is like this, and then I'm doing sets of 3s, and the next one coming out is Oceanside Widows Club, which I've been working on forever. I'm very excited about. Then it'll go into a missing persons section of 3, and it's kind of, there's interrelated characters, it's a whole world. And right now, currently, besides working on finishing up Oceanside Widows Club, also in that world, I'm doing a serialized series called, well, the working title is Florida Man, which is about a woman who, I'm really into apparently faking your own death, but has to change identities. And she's also kind of roped into this world and brought down to South Florida. And it's a little bit police procedural, so that's really fun. but in a kind of quirky way of this person who's thrown into a situation and has to suddenly pretend to be, or actually getting a chance to be someone that she's not gotten to be before with a different persona. You kind of can live in a different way. And so doing a lot of very Florida-centric stuff, living in my little Sunshine State mega series, and starting with this one that's publishing, and it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Great, thank you. Okay, VK, what have you published and what are you working on at the moment?
Okay, so I've recently published A Town Called Nowhere, which is a paranormal romance based in rural Australia, which I kind of had a bit of fun with the idea that people see big cats around Australia. So I thought, okay, let's turn them into shifters and make it a romance. So that's what I did there. I got the second one of that one that's coming out later on this year. So I'm finishing that one off at the moment, which is cool. My to-do list is massive. So I've got like about 5 books on the go at the moment. Again, jumping around depending what the day brings. But I've got a rom-com in there. I've got a new paranormal romance in there. I've got a thriller, which will probably never be published until I die because it's pretty dark. So don't know that that one's going to be like a lifetime thing. And yeah, I got lots on the go. I've got audiobook coming out with one of my later books. So yeah, very exciting.
Thank you. And Bobby, what are you working on and what have you recently published?
Well, the most recent thing that came out, I'll hold it up here, is it's a comic book collection of Domino Lady stories that I wrote. The first 2 I co-wrote with Nancy Holder, and the rest of them I wrote solo. Domino Lady is an actual pulp character from the 1930s that I've been fortunate enough to write a few times, and Nancy and I do a lot with her. So we're very excited about the comic because it's been in production limbo for a while. So we're very excited it finally came out. Currently, I'm working on. I just finished the sequel to my very first published novel, which was called Evil Ways. I just finished Evil Intent. And I'm also working on book 2 of the Sheriff Myers series and book 6, sorry, doing this backwards, book 6 of the Snow series. So that's what's keeping me busy these days.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me on the second episode of Writer Virtual's Table. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. So I want to thank Karen and VK and Bobby and Stephanie for taking the time out of your schedule to come here. And of course, you, the audience, thank you so much for always stopping on by and viewing. Have a great day and have a great week.
What do you get when you bring writers together for some fun and games?
Writer's Virtual Table.
Welcome to Writer's Virtual Table. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today we have some amazing writers who are going to have some fun with me. There are absolutely no prizes, no trophies, no stickers, nothing. They're just going to play a lot of fun games, and then I'm going to let them go. So I'm going to allow each one to introduce themselves. So we are going to start with Kat. Kat, please introduce yourself to the audience. Oh, give them your I'm sorry, give them your name, how you started writing, And your first book you published, what was the process like?
Well, my name is Kathrin Hutson. I write dark fantasy, dystopian sci-fi, and most recently, dark urban fantasy adventure. And I have been writing since I was 10, which I haven't been writing, anywhere near what I write now since I was 10, but that's when I started writing. And I have been writing professionally full-time for the last 2.5 years now, which is awesome. And the very first book I published is called Daughter of the Dragon. It's book 1 of my Kinona's Children duology. It's grim, dark fantasy. It's the Jungle Book meets Kill Bill with dragons. And that was published in October of 2015. The process for that was pretty cool, actually. I had been writing this book for about 9 years. Before I came back to it, decided to query traditional agents to get it picked up. I racked up about 116 rejection letters for that book. So I said, okay, I will try out the traditional, or the indie route. I'll do this on my own. That started my indie author career. And a year after, it was about 8 months after I published Daughter of the Dragon, it became an Amazon bestseller. I think it was like number 229 out of everything in the Amazon store. So that was really fun and reaffirmed my suspicion, I guess, that I had something going. So I decided to continue my journey that way.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch, tell us I already gave your name, but tell us your name, how you started writing, and your first book you published. What was the process like?
Thanks, Casey. I am Mitch Gray. I am a leadership and personal development coach. I began writing when I was, 12 or 13 years old, started writing poetry, then music. And then I didn't start writing books until my 20s or so. Really loved music and poetry in my teen years. So my first book, all the books until my newest one were all inspirational / spiritual. And so my first book was called The Cross Between. It was a spiritual book. And that's actually the only book that I went with a more traditional publisher at the time. My last few books I've gone kind of indie, independent. And so the process was interesting. I sold maybe 20 copies and gave away about 1,000. And that's, normally the route that most people end up having to take, right? Just kind of a hustle and grind. So, I think every creator creates more for themselves than for other people. And then we're super lucky if anyone else buys into it, right? And that's kind of the blessing of it all. So, so that's where we are.
Awesome. And Marie, same questions. Your name,
Great.
How you started writing, and everything else.
All right. Well, I'm Marie Powell, and I write fantasy, mostly speculative fiction. I have more than 45 children's books published at this point, including 2 young adult novels, which are my most recent ones, Last of the Gifted, Spirit Sight and Water Sight, and mostly with traditional publishers. So I'm kind of like the opposite of everybody else here, I guess. I started writing when I was 6 years old because next door neighbor was babysitting me, and she asked me to write a book. So I wrote a book for her and we stapled it together. I read it to her because obviously it was emergent writing, right? But I've always loved stories and reading and writing, and got read to a lot as a kid. So pretty natural, I guess, for me to, grow up and become a writer. I was a journalist though for a long time. And so then I made this sort of transition. I always wrote poetry and short fiction, but it was never any good, right? But I did eventually make the transition to writing books, and, started with short stories, had some short stories and poetry published. And my first book was with Scholastic Education. It's called Dragonflies Are Amazing. It's a gorgeous little book. It's a grade 2 guided reader, which started me off. I had been a library programmer for a few years by that point, and I kind of interested in literacy. Right now I double as an ESL teacher for the LINK program in Canada, which is language instruction for newcomers to Canada. So anyway, a lot of my young books, my books for younger children are actually geared to convincing kids, I guess, attracting kids to read. You know, they're for reluctant readers and that type of thing. And but my new series is not. It's medieval fantasy and quite the opposite, you know, kind of a little bit on the literary side. And I also had a good amount of funding from here. I'm in Regina, Saskatchewan, which is Treaty 4 territory. And so I have very good funding here from Creative Saskatchewan to do my new series. So I was really pleased with that. And that is where I'm at right now. So.
Awesome. That's something I did forget to ask. So you're in Canada, right?
Yeah.
So Mitch and Kat, where are you at?
I'm in Colorado in the United States.
Okay.
I am evidently Kat's southern neighbor. I am in New Mexico in the United States. So not far from each other. Yeah.
No, great.
Cool. I'm in New Jersey.
All right.
Far away from all of you.
Yeah, we're all far away. That's great.
So, all right, hold on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
How to hire and keep great people. A great guide for finding great people, designing great culture, and developing your dream team. How to hire and keep great people by Mitch Gray.
And we are back. All right, and our next section is Ask a Question. So Marie, you're going to start us off and you are going to ask Mitch a question.
Okay, Mitch. So I know that you write inspirational books, spiritual books, and I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about how you started in that process. Why did you choose that particular genre?
Yeah, great question. Actually, my newest book is a business book. So it's kind of a turn. I'll get to promote that later. But since I was 10 years old, all I wanted to do was be a pastor. That was it. And play professional basketball, but I was about 4 inches too short for that. So that's all I wanted to do. And so really until I was probably, 33, 34 years old, that was kind of what drove me. So, you know, all of my writing, all of my music, for the most part, I toured, played music for a long, long time as well. And everything was kind of spiritual / Christian was the environment I grew up in. And in my mid-30s, I took a huge pivot and left Christianity and left church and left all that behind. And the last decade has been interesting. So it's been fun. But yeah, for the first part of my life, that's all I wanted to do. And so that's kind of how my books manifested, was very spiritual. And I still, my approach is still very spiritual. Removing all the religion aspect from it, which, you know, all my books beforehand were Christian based. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at, and that's all I knew, and life happened, right?
Cool. Excellent.
Thank you. All right. Kathrin, ask Marie a question.
All right. So Marie, you said that you write fantasy mostly when it's not children's books, and then you went into speculative fiction as an overarching genre, which I know a lot of people who have asked me, what is speculative fiction? Because I say that as well. So I'm very curious to hear what else besides fantasy and children's books goes within the speculative fiction realm that you write.
Okay, well, myself, speculative fiction has a lot of different aspects to it. It could be science
Mhm.
fiction, could be, thrillers, horror, you name it. I'm kind of into the ghost stories. And so all of my speculative fiction has some kind of possession or ghost story to it. Something to do with, I guess you could say, life after death, a little bit following along Mitch there. But, and that's, so I have short stories, for example, that have ghosts in them or that relate to ghosts in some way, or to the past influencing the present, like something from a person's past, sort of encroaching into their present and causing them to do weird things, and some kind of, I guess, paranormal or supernatural gift or supernatural moment or something like that. So that's kind of where my writing sits in the speculative fiction realm or
Umbrella,
range
yeah.
or umbrella or whatever, yes, whatever we want to call it. Yeah, good.
Wonderful.
Thank you. And finally, Mitch asks Kathrin a question.
Kat, what is your favorite aspect of developing a character?
Oh, that's a really fantastic question. My favorite aspect is developing them and getting to know them as I'm writing their story. I have only very recently just become a pseudo plotter. So I will map out a series or write out some beats for the book, and that's 4,000 to 5,000 words. Beyond that, I don't touch any kind of planning because the forward momentum of discovering who my characters are, what they've done, what they have experienced that will be leading them through their journey as well, because it's never just the present, right? Like Marie has said, I get to learn everything about them at the same time as my readers do while they're going through the books, of course, obviously later. And I will say that every single one of my characters, no matter who they are or where they came from, has always surprised me because of that, probably. But I love getting to see where they're going in the moment. And I did actually describe writing my characters in a way that I had heard was pretty cool when I said it. It's like watching, your neighbor walk past your house on the street. If you don't speak to them every day, you only get a snippet of their life right there, and they're walking their dog or what have you down the street. And that, for me, writing my characters is the same as if I were to creepily come out of my house and follow that neighbor down the street and watch them during the rest of their day. So that's how I prefer to develop my characters in the moment.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, so this will be airing July 19th, but today is June 3rd. Do any of you know what PitMat is, and are any of you taking part in it?
I know what it is, but I'm not
part.
taking part. Yeah. Hope you guys
So no.
didn't hear that.
No.
Do you know what it is?
Yes.
Yes.
I
Okay.
don't.
Yeah.
You
I
don't?
don't.
Okay.
No.
So PitMad is a hashtag on Twitter. PIT stands for pitch. And basically you write out a pitch for a book you've written that's unpublished. And if a publishing company likes it, they'll contact you to possibly publish the book. And I think June 3rd is the official day of it every year. I don't know. I know I saw it last year, but I don't remember when I saw it, what day it was. But yeah, but that's PitMat. I just thought I'd mention it, being that today is the actual day.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so next section, judge a book by its cover. I am going to show you a book cover, and then all you have to do is look at it. You get 30 seconds to come up with a title, a main character, a plot, and a genre. All right? Okay, hold on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message. Kathrin, what do you see?
All right. I'll call this book Not My Cake. And that would be a sort of like a murder mystery, cozy mystery comedy combination. I'm going to go with main character being a woman in her 60s who is running a struggling bakery and trying to make ends meet when along comes a stranger who interrupts all her day-to-day life, and she ends up killing people. Ta-da!
Wonderful. Okay, Mitch, what do you say?
Okay, this book is called The Wild Evidence of Wedding Misdemeanors. The character is Lucy Johnson, and I'm going to say this is a sensual thriller mystery slash horror, possibly. Lucy is a serial killer who befriends people and becomes a bridesmaid at countless weddings, eventually knocking off the groom, only the groom. That is the wild evidence of wedding party misdemeanors. Yeah.
I like that. Marie?
I'm going to call this one Let Him Eat Cake. After 30 years of marriage and putting up with his philandering ways, she had a special anniversary gift for him that would cut a special slice into his life. And this is a thriller suspense ending in, shall we say, liberation.
Yes.
Great stories. Well, now you all can take part in Pit Mat if you want.
Yeah, with those, it's perfect.
I was going to say, you've definitely inspired us, Casey. You've definitely inspired us.
Okay, so our next section is called Who is That Character? I am going to show you a character's name, and all you have to do is guess the title of the book, the plot, and the genre, but you do not have to draw or design the cover for it.
The gateway opens. The Laneroth lies. And the Guardian's out of time. With her deadly magic now restored, Jessica Northwood is finally whole. But the last ruthless fragment of her past still hunts her down to finish what she started, and there's nowhere left to hide. Alona Andrews' Innkeeper Chronicles meets the Magicians in this snarky, fast-paced urban fantasy adventure from international best-selling author Kathrin Hutson.
And we are back.
Okay, Mitch, who is Gile Frab?
Gile Frab is a featured character in a book called The Mysteries of the Underground. Gile Frab is a wildly popular scientist who never gets it right. And so Gile Frab feels like he discovers amazing things like dinosaur bones and ancient societies, etc., but really they're nothing at all. But he has no idea that they're nothing at all. That's Gile Frab.
Awesome. Kathrin, who is Gile Frab?
Excuse me. All right. Gile Frab is a smuggler aboard a space station way away across the universe. In the book titled Against the Grain, and this is sci-fi. This smuggler, Gile Frab, finds herself in the midst of a revolt on board the space station, and has to smuggle herself out of the chaos.
Amazing.
Super.
And Marie, who is Galloway Frab?
Oh, well, Galloway Frab is a paranormal private investigator with a special ability to channel the world of the afterlife, and he can communicate with let's make her a she. She can communicate with the dead. This is paranormal urban fantasy, and Galloway Frab uses her special exotic powers to solve mysteries for the city of let's make it Regina, Saskatchewan. Why not?
Well, I want to thank our writers so much for joining me on So Much Fun. Kathrin, if you can let everyone know your latest book that you've published, and if you are working on anything, what are you working on?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on with everyone else as well, Casey. This has been fun. The latest book that I published is book 4 in my newest urban fantasy series, Accessory to Magic. And book 5 will be out very, very soon as well. So I'm still working on that, drawing up the final conclusion to Jessica Northwood's chaotic journey in crossing between worlds and saving both of them with the help of her magical sentient bank and Faye sidekick. And was that everything?
Yes.
You wanted to know about the latest book. So that's what I'm currently working on now, and I am neck deep in the series. I'm really excited for that to be finished.
Awesome, thank you. And Mitch, what's your latest book, and are you working on anything at the moment?
My latest book that will release the end of June, How to Hire and Keep Great People. Your go-to guide for finding great people, designing great culture, and developing your dream team. So it'll be out the end of June. Yeah, I'm working on my next book. It'll probably be out in a year, but it'll be another book focused on leadership as well. So.
Great. And of course, Marie, what is your latest book and what are you working on at the moment?
Thank you so much for asking, Casey. My latest book that I'm just brought out a few months ago, Last of the Gifted Water Sight, which is book 2 in the Last of the Gifted series. This is a series set in 13th century Wales, and it's about 2 siblings who pledge their magical abilities to protect their people from the invading English army, with a little help from the last true Prince of Wales after his murder. Hugh is a warrior in training with a special ability to control the minds of animals and birds and eventually transform into animals and birds of his choice. His sister Kathrin can see the future in a drop of water, and she is the heroine of Water Sight, pardon me. And it carries into 1283 with this story. Kathrin's gift of second sight is the hope of finding 3 relics to rally the Welsh. If she can outwit the English lord who wants to use her gifts to basically capture the would-be prince. Hugh, her brother, is on the run with the prince and the dwindling Welsh army. They are, of course, betrayed. Hugh takes refuge in his gift, and with her brother trapped in his magic and her betrothed in an English prison, Kathrin faces the impossible choice: save her brother or save the one she loves. So that's the story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today on Writers Virtual's Table. That is all the time we have for you today. Thank you again to Kathrin, Mitch, and Marie for joining me, and to you, the audience. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Have a great week. Goodbye.